Welcome to the Empowered Embodiment Revolution, where women leaders reveal how to liberate yourself from body battles so that you can follow your heart, own your power, and shine in the world. I'm Darlene Downing. I am your host for this event, and I am thrilled to be here with you today. I have with me Roberta Mittman, a dedicated alternative healthcare practitioner, health and wellness coach, speaker, author, and licensed acupuncturist. Roberta Mittman is the founder of the Park Avenue Center for Wellbeing. She serves the New York City area as well as those from around the world who connect with her for guidance to reach healthy, happy, and richly rewarding lives. Roberta specializes in guiding women to quickly and elegantly feel and look trim and vital so they have more time and energy to spend finding happiness, love, and abundance. Her magic, the perfect holistic blend of East and West. A self-proclaimed chocolate enthusiast, me too. She's also the author of Ultimate Wellness, the 3 mental shifts you can use to change the course of your health right now. Roberta joins us here today to share her love and passion in empowering women as we learn more about your Chinese medicine survival guide, Rebalance Your Weight, Energy, and You. So welcome, Roberta. I am so delighted to have you here today.
Thank you, Darlene. It's really an honor. Thank you very much, too.
Oh, yeah, the honor's mine. I'm so excited about having this conversation and about sharing new information with women on how they can be empowered in their bodies. And I know you have some really interesting information for us today that I can't wait to dive into. Chinese medicine I know a little bit about, but not a ton, so I'm really looking forward to learning more about that. And before we do, I've been asking all the speakers just to start the conversation off with how they would define empowered embodiment. So how do you define it?
Empowered embodiment, to me, really is at the core of all of the work that I do. Coming from a Chinese medicine perspective, it's, for 5,000 years, been holistic, with a W, because it really believes in the whole, which we'll discuss in a little bit, and how that comes to be and some of the principles behind it. But it really is all about all the different pieces that should coexist or could coexist together for a smooth flow, and it really, they all, if in balance, can really constitute a whole, living, breathing, restorative type of health and optimal wellness. So that's what that means to me. It means just having all of the pieces really work together to form a whole. And it really is, branches out to your emotional well-being, to your physical well-being, to family, relationships, money, everything. It all is part of the same umbrella. And to me, that's what this empowerment means, where we can make choices that support this smooth flow and balance.
I love that. I love that. And what I was getting is that you're not feeling fragmented, that you are whole and complete.
Perfect.
Yeah, that's awesome. And who doesn't want more of that, right?
I know. It's really a wonderful to strive for that. And, you know, I think that's what we all do, and all the wonderful speakers that you have. We're all trying to give people options, wonderful options, to achieve that goal and to find things that resonate with each person so that they can really feel empowered to feel whole.
Yes, that is definitely the intent, and we're all at different places on the journey. So different tools, different tools will speak to different people, and that's what I love about having all of these wise women like yourself here sharing what you know, and then for the listeners to take what it is, those pearls, and start applying them in their own life. So, you know, we live in this paradigm where it can be a real challenge to feel empowered in your body, especially with so much of women's self-esteem being tied around body image and having the perfect body and the perfect life, really. And I know it was a challenge for me, which was the reason that I wanted to put this information out there. And I'm wondering if you could share what your story has been with your body, and then whatever challenges you had, how you overcame them.
Well, I think we all have a nice history of those challenges. I don't know anyone that doesn't have one. So I think the one that I'll mention today is actually a rather interesting one. And that was a real wake-up call for me. And that just showed me a little bit what happens when you get a little fragmented and how important it is to get back to the whole. And that occurred almost exactly 10 years ago. And just to give you just a little quick insight into what that was about, I'm very close to a younger sister. I have one sister, and we're very close in age, and we're also very close, period. So she had this really unfortunate, I guess you could say, circumstance where all of a sudden, out of nowhere, her kidney shut down. Go figure. It was just out of the blue, and you ask a doctor and you say, what's going on? Like, what is that? And they go, well, never met anyone that had that. It's in the textbook, but this is the first time I've ever seen this. Mm-hmm. So fast forward to the need for a kidney transplant. So we were a perfect genetic match, and so I donated my kidney to her 10 years ago. The reason why I'm bringing this up is because during the recovery period, before that, actually, before I went in, I decided I was going to have the fastest recovery possible, and that I was going to have like my own little mini boot camp of getting myself in shape. So I really looked very carefully into what was going on with my own health, my own body, and I realized that I was very committed to my patients and very committed to all the people I was working with, but I really wasn't putting myself first as I should. And I saw that it was really taking a little bit of a toll. Like I wasn't sleeping enough. I wasn't eating as regularly as I should. I was blowing off exercise just a little too many times. And I really just forced me to take a really good look at what new habits that I had come across just had evolved and just made a home there, and that I really needed to change. So that was really a wake-up call for me, and I was really able to take a good hard look and make some changes, and I went through the surgery just really well and got back to work in a very short period of time, but with new rituals and a new self-care program in place.
Wow.
But it took that to like the universe to give me that like wake-up call. Like I wasn't really taking care of myself as I really could have. So I learned my lesson.
And it's what's so funny is what you chose. It took your sister and needing to be there for your sister for you to show up for yourself, which women, we tend to do that, right? Like, well, we'll do it for our kids. We won't necessarily do it for us. And yet it still is that underlying motivator that gets us to take a look at where we're at and make some changes.
Yeah, and that's a really good point, Darlene, because that, in a way, is also symbolic of what happens to so many of us, especially, well, women and men, actually. I think this is universal. And that is that so many times we're just not really paying attention, and I think I was probably guilty of that myself. And so many times people don't pay attention until something goes wrong. The red light goes off on the dashboard, and they go, uh-oh, like I just can't ignore this anymore. But people say, oh, it'll just go away, I'll power through it. And many times when people even come to me, by the time they come to me, it's like damage control. And if they had listened a little bit more carefully in advance, it would have been so relatively quick and easier. And I think that probably is rather universal. So I think you and I are saying that, gee, everybody, really listen and pay attention to what your body's saying, because many times we put our health on the back burner, and I could see that I was probably doing that too. So not anymore.
Right. Yes, and being able to be connected so that you can hear those little messages that are coming, because the body will tell us if we're listening. And it's so many of us, you're right, men and women we just get caught in our heads and our to-do lists, and so the body, unless it's really, really screaming, kind of gets
Right.
pushed to the yeah.
Exactly. And women, I'm sure you've talked about this with other speakers, because it's women traditionally are overgivers, overservers. We're trying to make everybody happy and make sure that everybody is, quote, getting what they need, and then we'll get around to us. And so I know firsthand what happens when you don't put yourself first. And so I learned before the red light went off on my own personal dashboard, but I'm hoping that people will take what I have to say, and you too, and other speakers, and really listen. It's okay to be a little selfish and self-indulgent. I always tell my clients that, my coaching clients and patients, like, it's what you deserve. People deserve to do that, take good care of themselves.
Absolutely. And will you talk to us a little bit more about your clients that you serve? You've had this successful alternative practice for about 20 years. Do you want to just talk a bit more about that?
Sure, I'd love to. So I actually work with two groups of people. The first group is I've been working with for 20 years, and that is alternative medicine. I have an office here in New York City, and I see people all ages, men, women, children, and it's wonderfully varied. And people come for everything. I'll just name a couple of things, from everything from fertility to pain. I do trigger point work with that. It's kind of a special acupuncture technique. Digestive problems, headache, let's say allergies, just kind of going through like all the body systems, sleep, hormones, you just name it. It's like everything. And it's not so much that acupuncture is this magic wand. I like to think of it as part of a healthcare regimen. I mean, for many people, like it does really like do the trick for neck pain, back pain, all those kind of things. It's wonderful. But I like to make sure that people actually have representation from the West, like have a doctor that they see for checkups and things like that. This is not in my scope of practice, take blood tests and things like that, and who knows, we can miss something. So I'm always encouraging people to take the best of East and West. That's one of the wonderful things we have at our disposal at this day and age. The East has been around for 5,000 years. It stood the test of time. There's so many wonderful things it can do. But I also understand that the Western medicine really offers great testing. I mean, if you need an operation, if you need surgery, if you have a terrible infection, there's some things that you really need to see a doctor for. So I always encourage my patients to choose the best of both. And that's why I've always worked in a doctor's office, because I refer to doctors refer to me. They actually become my patients as well. And it's a really nice synergy. And I think we can backtrack for a second, because that's actually how I came into the acupuncture world. My father was an MD acupuncturist 50 years ago. So Darlene, picture this. Here was a very traditional family doctor in a suburb, and he just loved alternative things. And there was somebody in his office who was from China, and at that time there was no acupuncture school. I mean, this was a little bit off the grid here, and he learned acupuncture so well, and people flew in from all over to see him because he had this wonderful reputation. So here he was, the regular family doctor, but also had this love of acupuncture. So that's something that I grew up with and was always an inspiration for me. And I think his legacy to me was that you can always have the best of East and West. You don't have to choose. So I'm going to tell everybody that holistic is not necessarily just the alternative world. You can really have holistic healthcare by really picking and choosing wisely whatever serves you.
Yes, we don't need to throw the baby out with the bathwater, right? That we can have it all.
All right.
You know, and what I love about what you're sharing too, that's so cool that your dad 50 years ago was, you know, that traditional doctor's path, and also just was that was his passion, and he explored that and brought that to the suburbs, which is great. You know,
yeah, no one was doing that. People thought he was a little nutty, Darlene, but that didn't stop him. And it didn't stop people from coming. They just said, well, there's something that he's doing, and it's really working, and I want to try that too. So it was great.
Yeah, and nutty, as long as it's working, then, you know, why not give it a go? And then, you know, what I think we wanted to bring to the conversation today, which I know we're going to get to it later, you're going to show us some ways that we can use Chinese medicine ourselves and understand it a little more, is that if we become proactive with our own health and do the things that we know how to do, and if we become more in tune with our body, then we can work with the physician or practitioner as support. You know, we can have a support team of all these different modalities and practices based on what our bodies need, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. That's well said. Because I always think of myself as a member of a healthcare team. Sometimes it takes a village, you know, and sometimes it doesn't. But I always you know, we're all on the same team. We're all working for one thing, and that is for someone to feel their absolute best inside and out.
Yes, that's the ticket.
Yes.
So I'd love to hear more about Chinese medicine and how it is still relevant in 2014 with all of that we have available to us with medications and surgery and everything else.
Yeah, I really love to talk about that because people will say, like, why is something so old still so good? Why does it still work? And I think that one of the ways I start to address that is to mention the fact that acupuncture started, well, it depends on where you read. Sometimes some places it says 3,000 years, sometimes it says 5,000 years, give or take 2,000 years. And here's the honest truth. There's a lot of studies going on, but I don't really think there's a definitive answer about why and how acupuncture works, which is kind of interesting. Some people say there's an electric current, it releases endorphins, it works with the nervous system, it does this, does. But, you know, even though there's not a clear explanation, it's really clear that acupuncture works. It's been around for all these years. It stood the test of time. As a matter of fact, ever since it began, it's been used somewhere in the world since the beginning. So it's not a fad that comes and goes. Mm-hmm. It's just been in continual use. And now I'm so excited because it's really gotten a little bit more mainstream. One of the wonderful things that I love is when people, when they come for the first time, they tend to be a little apprehensive, and the first question is, "Is it going to hurt?" Mm-hmm. And I always show them, I give them a little show and tell, and I show them just how flexible the actual filaments are. People say, you know, they call them needles, but they're like filaments. They're just like a hair, and they bend. And when I show them, they go, "That's it?" So it's really can be actually quite comfortable. As a matter of fact, a lot of people just fall asleep at the end of the visit, and I always say, like, how uncomfortable could that be if people are falling asleep because they're so relaxed, right?
Right.
Yeah, and it's in constant use because it really is based on that holistic tendency that we're talking about. Western medicine really deals with symptoms, and it deals with disease. Eastern medicine has certain overriding principles, which I'm going to talk to you a little bit about, And it deals with how it all works together, with the energy that holds it all together, like it's almost like the glue that's present in the world. And it addresses that. So that if you go, let's say you hurt your pinky and you go to a doctor and they're going to x-ray it, all those things are good. They're going to give you certain treatment for it, whatever that is. But there's probably a specialist that deals with just that part of you, you know, with your hand.
Yeah.
Somebody in the Eastern world would look at you, would look at your complexion, they would look at the way you walk, the way you hold yourself. There are different signs and symptoms, and they would have an overall feeling about you and ask you certain questions about your sleep and your digestion and all kinds of things. And you're going to say, well, what does that have to do with my hand? But honestly, your hand is connected to like a whole lot more. And it really is just one little puzzle piece of the whole. And it's like, is it a part of the circulation? Is it like a bone thing? Is it a nerve thing? It's really all about the overall pattern of things. And then, of course, there are things to address it, specific complaints. But the one thing about Chinese medicine is that it really takes the whole individual into account and how it fits in. So that's really why I think it's so appropriate in 2014. Also, let's face it, we are very stressed these days. We're hurrying, we're overworking, so much is going on, everyone's so busy. And in Chinese medicine, there's really like different ways to kind of get you to slow down, to relax, and to balance that energy that sees usually just so excess. It's like we're kind of always stuck running, putting our foot on the gas. And this helps to really rebalance that and just kind of get everyone back into this really nice kind of leveling the playing field, nice state.
Yes, love it. I love it.
Yeah.
And that you're right about the stress. I mean, we do live in a sea of stress and information overload, and as it relates to what we're talking about in this summit, you're not very empowered in your body when you are totally stressed out. And you know, if you can find tools like these to help you manage what is stressful in your body, or maybe even not go to stress, and to get to that place where you don't even have to go to stress regularly, you're going to be healthier, you're going to be more vibrant, so that you can be out doing what it is you want to do in the world. Yeah.
Absolutely. That's a really good point. So there's a couple of ways I'd like to explain how this works.
Yeah.
And I think through the discussion you'll see how this works so well in 2014. One of the concepts that I like to explain is the concept of yin and yang. A lot of people say yang, but in our like enlightened circles, it's yang. So now everyone can say yin and yang, okay? And so it's really it's a very interesting way of looking at the universe. And in Chinese medicine, everything is, look at things in a very different way. So yin and yang is a duality. They're called complementary opposites. And if you think about it, you can't really have hot unless you have cold. You can't have short unless you have tall. We need something to balance that out, right? So yin stands for one kind of action, and yang is the other, but together they form the whole. And I'll explain a little bit more about that. So I'm going to hold up this book, and I hope everyone sees it because I want everyone to look at this. Maybe people never really understood this, and it really explains yin and yang really well. See this little symbol for yin and yang?
Yeah.
Most people have seen it. Well, if you look at this, you know, it's really interesting that you see that the dark actually stands for the yin, the white stands for the yang, but look at the little dots. That there's a little bit of yin in the yang, and a little bit of the other, and it all flows into each other and becomes each other. It's kind of interesting how it fades into each other.
Yes.
That duality. And in Chinese medicine, you order the whole universe in terms of if it's you've got yin qualities or yang. So I'm going to read you a couple of things just so you'll understand a little bit better. So for instance, earth is yin Heaven is yang. Female is yin, male is yang. Night is yin, day is yang. The moon is yin and the sun is yang. So you'll understand that falling is yin, rising is yang. So movement inwards is yin, movement outwards is yang. So we need both in order to exist. But when you see where I'm going with this is that yin is the female nurturing, kind of very kind of like the embodying things and kind of getting them to be born, I guess you could say, and to nurture. And yang is the male, and that's the outward expansion, the activity. It's the warrior. It's the growth and activity. So we need the nurturing to foster the catalyst for the activity, and then the activity need to rest and kind of reboot and rebuild, restore, and then you go back out. So that's kind of how yin and yang works. So it's kind of interesting when you think about it, and you need both of those in the world. So I'd like everyone to understand that quality. And with yin and yang, there's another principle, and that has to do with qi. I think everybody's heard of qi, right? And then you spell that Q-I. And the one thing that I like people to understand is people say, well, where is it? What is it? Well, I like to define it as, yeah.
Where is that qi?
Where is the qi? Well, it's all around you, basically. And, you know, energy's around you. It's really the energy that makes you you and sustains everything in the universe, according to Chinese medicine, right? Mm-hmm. And what I like to explain it is another way to explain it, and that is how it's one of the ways it's represented in your body. There's different organs in your body in Chinese medicine, and one of them is kidney. And kidney qi comes in two ways. All the organ has their own qi. Kidney qi is your essence. It makes you you. And there's two forms of it. And what I like people to understand is what that means, because it really is a metaphor for your existence and what it's like to be whole and to have optimal empowerment. Mm. So think about it this way. Let's just say you have money in a bank, and then you have your wallet, which is the money that you spend every day. It kind of comes and goes, right? Yeah. The money in the bank is finite. The money in your wallet you spend for whatever you need. There's just change in your pocket. So picture that the qi that you have, your kidney qi, that is inherited from your parents is the finite, is the money in the bank. Okay. The acquired qi, which is the other kind, is the money in your wallet. And that has to do with the food that you eat, the air that you breathe, and the life that you live, your lifestyle. So here's what you want to do. Here's my wallet. Here's my money, right? And let's just say that I am not sleeping, and I'm staying out too late and getting up too early and walking around exhausted. Okay, I've spent that. Let's just say I'm eating sugary foods and not taking good care of myself and just eating things that you know don't serve you, unhealthy foods, okay? That's that. And let's just say I'm just really just my lifestyle, I'm not moving, I'm sitting in front of the computer all day, and I'm just like being totally inactive. Okay, and let's just, you get the idea. I'm spending all the money in my wallet, and before you know it, it's empty. So I'm going to have to borrow money from the bank. That money that is in the bank is finite. That means once it's gone, it's gone. And then just your life is going to come to an end, honestly. So you want to keep your wallet full. And that's important so it means that we all have to make really good choices so that we're going to go to sleep, get the rest that we need, right? We're going to eat good food. You want to keep the money in your bank, because once you spent all this money in your wallet, once we spent all the money, we have to borrow from the bank, and then we're taking away from our finite life force. Do you see what I'm saying? Is that clear?
Oh my gosh, it's a brilliant analogy. I love it. And I also love that you reference that our life force energy is a resource, just like money or time. That
Totally.
it's something that gets taken for granted, and then and like we were saying before, then we don't have it, and we're like, well, what's wrong with my body? But it's really just the way we're using the life force energy that we've been given.
Yes, absolutely. It's sorry, I'm just looking for something here to show you. Yes, it's totally finite, and it is the kind of thing where once it's gone from the bank, it's gone. So it's up to us to make those choices.
Yes.
Those choices that keep us whole, to keep us empowered, and therefore we can renew those resources and keep your kidney chi, which is your essence, alive. It makes you you. And once you run out, then it's difficult. So I think that hopefully people will understand that concept.
Yes, you did that brilliantly. I love that example. I've never seen that done before. And
Then it will help people to understand. Sorry, that basically that's what it's about. Taking really good care of yourself. The next thing I want to explain really quickly, and I was just looking for something that I had right here. I'm so sorry, but that's okay. Oh, here it is. The concept of meridians. I love to explain meridians to people because that's where the chi flows. Basically, meridians run up and down. Some go this way, horizontal, but mostly they're vertical. And what I like to explain about meridians is that they're pathways of energy that flow through your body. That's what carries the chi that we talked about too, the kidney chi, the finite, the acquired chi, and the inherited. It flows through pathways of energy. So people say, well, what is that like? So I like to explain it in a New York City kind of way. So those of you who are listening who don't live in a city will know what I'm talking about because they've seen it, and they can probably use your imagination. So picture this. Here is the subway system of New York. And I don't know if you can see this, but it's pretty complicated. It's a network.
Yeah, it is complicated.
And here's my Metro card. This is going to get me down there, right? Well, picture the meridians to be the subway lines. They're all a network of things. They're running underground. And now the picture that I'm trying to get into the subway, I need my card, and that's going to get me down. And the subway stops on the street are your acupuncture points. That's your entry into the meridians. What help you contact them and to help. We're looking for a smooth flow of energy. We don't want a train stuck in the station because then we'll have excess on behind it and it'll be deficient in front because nothing can go. So we want to make sure that there's a smooth flow of energy on those tracks, and that's what acupuncture points will do. They will help you, or acupressure points actually. They will help you access the energy that flows through the meridians. So sometimes people can understand that because you have to go down the steps to go down to the tracks and get on the train, and that's how you access your meridians, your energy. And that's what we work on as acupuncturists.
I love that. I love that. And, you know, I've been asking all of our speakers to bring a tool for the listeners to take right away, an empowered embodiment tool. Is there something that we can do together that people can...
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. In the gift that I'm offering everybody, there's really a lot of information there. And one of the things that are there, one of the parts has to do with acupressure points that everyone can do at home. And when you do this at home, you can actually impact that meridian system and that chi, that energy that flows through your body, and that we want to keep balanced, the smooth flow of energy. So I've given you some acupressure points you can use, and I can actually just do a few right now if you like. Like there's one here to calm stress. Like, hello, I think we all could use this. So there's this one point, it's one of my favorite points. It's called yin tang. And I'm sure that people will know it because it's called the third eye. And it actually is a wonderful point. and you can just rub it gently or you can tap it, and that is an acupressure point or an acupuncture point designed. I think you can feel the fact that it, and understand the fact that it gives you more insight. It is really fabulous for balancing, and it just calms the mind. And I think we could all use a case of this.
So what do you recommend that you, when you notice that you're stressing, that you just come to this point, you just gently touch it or massage it?
Yeah, exactly. Just massage it a little bit, and it's yin tong. It's right in the middle of your eyebrows, and it's your third eye. So that's one of them. There's some of them I can't. I actually can't demonstrate because they involve something on your leg, but I will explain how to do it. Here's a really cool one. Let's just say that if you have a fight with a friend, or you have a disagreement, or you're having a problem with relationships, there is one right here, and it's inside the wrist on the pinky side, right
Okay.
there, on the crease.
Right underneath the pinky?
I'm going straight down, and
Okay.
there's an acupressure point which will really help to bring more compassion, to open your heart. And I really like to use this for, just like for this particular case, to really help to build relationships, not only with other people, but also with yourself. It's a really good point. And there's next to that is a point, and it's right around here. And this point is in the middle of your hand. Can you see? And that one is for digestion. That's where the C bands go for people that have seasickness
Right.
and feel nausea. But another thing, for another use of this point, is also for the smooth flow of energy. It's also another calming point. So I think sometimes it might be nice to help people to go to sleep. So you could use this point as well. So those are just 3 of them, and I think there are like 6 points in there that people can use should they need them, just at a moment's notice. And you don't need to do anything because you just have your own body and your own hands, and that's acupressure to go.
It's awesome. And what Roberta's referring to is she's been so generous to offer a free gift to all of the listeners, which I'm going to turn the conversation over to her in a minute to describe that to you. But the link is below this video so that you can go and check that out and play with these. You know, Roberta, the one for compassion, I love that you brought in that can be for others and for yourself. Like if you are finding that you're beating yourself up with judgmental thoughts about your body or judgmental thoughts in general, to be able to tap into that point will help ease that, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Oh, so great. So great.
I'm glad you like them.
Yeah, I've learned a lot about this. I'm so blessed that I get to hang out with wise women like yourself and learn about
Chinese medicine, a lot of people don't understand, and or they come away with things they've seen in the movies or something that a friend has told them. And I really like people to come away with like just a little bit of information, so that it can hopefully become a viable option for them as well. And if there's an acupuncturist or someone that does acupressure, they'll understand a little bit more about it and hopefully seek it out as an option for themselves.
Yes, and it is totally relevant. And just like you said in the conversation earlier, with the modern world that we live in and with the stress, have these tools in our back pocket so we can be proactive, and then our bodies don't have to scream at us, that we can rebalance. Because what I took away from what you were sharing is it's really all about balancing the yin and the yang, about keeping the balance flowing through the energy centers, keeping, not having those blockages, and we can use with that, right?
Absolutely. It's really the qi, the yin and yang. Exactly. The yin and yang helps to order the world, and for people to see the holistic duality of things, how hot and cold can become each other after a while. Do you know what I'm saying? I mean, it can, it's like part of this, it's part of water. Let's just say the running water. And also the qi that runs through the meridians. It's really all about balance. And if there's a blockage in Chinese medicine, that's what they refer to. That's what they think any kind of pain or dysfunction or symptom or difficulty is a blockage in the meridian. So our goal is to keep the smooth flow of qi through the meridian system, which I explained is like the subway.
Which was brilliant, by the way. I loved that. That was so fun. Well, did you want to describe this free gift that you've been so
sure.
To everybody? Great.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. It's a survival guide. I like to call it the Chinese Medicine Survival Guide. And I've really just gone over some of the things that we discussed today, plus a lot more in case you're interested. I go into the 5 elements, which I didn't discuss today, but I really want everyone to read about. And you can see what type are you. You'll resonate with one of the 5 most likely. And when you do, we all have all 5 inside of us, but sometimes there's one that's a little bit more predominant. And I've also listed some activities that can help bring it back into balance if you feel out of balance, some foods that are good for balancing that particular element. And I also have these acupressure points that I described. I have just described a few, but I have more. And there's things to for digestion, for bones, for glowing skin. There's just a bunch of acupressure points that you could add to your repertoire at home, and I describe what they're for and how to find them.
Oh, that's so awesome. So that link is right below the video. Grab Roberta's Chinese Survival Guide, right? Chinese Medicine Survival Guide, isn't that what it's called? Yeah.
Yeah.
So great. And, you know, to just take a few minutes and press a point, you know, how difficult is that? And how, you know, the benefits that you can get from that.
Yeah. It's really like, you can just, it's wonderful when you have somehow self-help tools that you can do on your own.
Yes.
That's empowerment.
Yes, it is. Instead of feeling like a victim, okay, what tools can I pull out and how can I shift this and what else is possible?
Exactly.
Well, thank you so much for the great conversation today, for educating me, and I'm sure many of the listeners a little more about Chinese medicine and how we can apply it practically in our lives right away, and that it's not just some theory or some ancient, you know, information.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yes, let's just dispel that myth right now, right?
Exactly.
And thank you so much for being part of this summit. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you. It's quite an honor, because I know you have wonderful speakers and you're doing a fabulous thing, Darlene. So thank you.
And to all of our listeners, thank you so much for being here today, for taking the time for yourself, for opening yourself to more empowered possibilities with your body. And we have more videos, speakers, tools, and tips to come, so stay tuned. And until next time, bye for now. Bye, Roberta.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.